All right, so we're here today because the average just sold post doesn't do justice for the story and what really transpires through a real estate transaction. So Matthew's on today. He found this idea that we're going to experiment with today, and I really appreciate it, Matthew. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. And you should probably share your resume with just the Mielke family and what we've done together.
For sure. I mean, there's been a lot, right? There's been the
Yeah.
strategy, there's been a home sale to list a home and sell it, there's been a home purchase, and there's been a lot that you've taken on as a professional, right? Starting a business, the whole thing. And you guys had dreams and we put it all together and you're living the dream that you want.
Yes. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah, absolutely. And we've got even more of a long term relationship. But one thing is true is that outside of you selling our home and then us buying another, we've maintained a relationship from the beginning to now, which is, I think, a very unique thing, especially if you consider that there are a lot of agents out there that are just trying to make a deal, move on to the next one, make a deal, move on to the next one. And even the fact that we're sitting there here having this conversation speaks to the fact that you don't do business like that. You do operate on relationships exclusively, and that makes you unique.
I appreciate that. Yeah, the relationships, I mean, it's not every client like this, obviously, but I really enjoyed getting to know you on a personal and professional level, and then your whole family, and it's been an amazing journey. I remember doing a post like with you and the family in front of the houses, stuff like that. You
Mm-hmm.
jumping in the pool when you got your keys. Welcome to the Mielke household. It's the feeling is so great. So when we're getting into like the story of your journey and what maybe set it different that you maybe heard from other people that during their journeys of real estate transactions, I guess what did you want to share today to highlight what the experience was like?
Well, I think something that's different about you is that you carry an executive presence, which I think is really important when you're selecting somebody to represent you and your family, but you also have a personality. And the reason that brings such balance to the process is that it's a very emotional journey when you're looking to buy a home or when you're selling a home that requires a delicate touch that you have, as well as the white glove service that you bring to the table. So there was never a time where we felt forgotten or we felt like we weren't a priority of yours. And knowing you personally, that you've got a family to take care of, you've got a big family to take care of, like myself and my wife having 3 kids. It's very, very challenging at times to balance everybody's schedules. And so we took that into consideration, but you always made us feel like a priority. If there was a house to see and it was the right one, you'd freaking make it happen. And not just every once in a while, every single time. And being a family man myself and knowing you have a family of your own, that was huge. Nothing shows more that you're invested in your clients than being available, and you always were.
Awesome. That means a lot. I really thank you for this. Again, we're testing this out and man, doing this once a day really can make you feel awesome. This
Hey,
is
it's
great.
because I'm awesome, though. Okay, it's
Yes,
not
you
going to be
guys
like
are
this.
awesome. You're awesome. I mean, this is, so there's the journey of, figuring out, okay, we know we want to sell something. We know we want to eventually buy something in a certain area and a certain size and all of the things. Um, I guess what other points of, you mentioned the showing process, how was the, communication, not just being available, but how is the communication like when something needs to be described to you, like something maybe that isn't so great of information? Like, how was that part of it? Because there's usually some sort of barrier or roadblock that comes into every transaction.
Yeah, and there was. Um, I touching on like the emotional element of it, I would say that you are a rational mind in an emotional process. And as a buyer or a seller, you can get completely sucked into those emotions and fall prey to them, right? And always did a great job of slowing it down and saying, hey, let me explain to you what's going on here, where we're at in either the buying or selling process. So we knew exactly what portion of the process we're in and what we should do to get the most desirable outcome. And here's what the most desirable outcome is. I remember when we were purchasing the house and we were doing this kind of back and forth negotiation. I'll make a phone call, they're going to make a phone call, so on and so forth. And we were like, oh, maybe we should just settle for it right here because we really want the home. This is the one. And you're like, we're not going to lose this. Don't worry. We're not going to lose the deal. But I think that we could do better. And both my wife and I are like shaking, like, oh my gosh, are you sure? Are you sure you want to push it a little bit further? Yes, yes, I'm confident I can do it. And we're like, okay. But there's nobody that we would trust more than you to handle the transaction. You go back in and you got what we wanted and then some. And that just speaks volumes. It brings a smile to my face even now. That was 2 years ago. And it's just as exciting and thrilling thinking of it now.
Yeah, no, I love that you mentioned that because we call it like going the next round. Just go another round. And when you're able to though, right? Like you don't want to get ego involved where I need to win. It's not about me, it's about you winning a little bit more if it's possible.
Right.
And there are some times during a transaction that it's okay going another round and you're not going to be hurt in any way, right? We want to
Right.
obviously always protect you guys, but there just go that one more round because you just don't know, and most of the time it works out really well. So
Yeah.
that's awesome that you brought that up. I love that. And then the cool, I call it the coolness and calmness, right? And it is hard. You mentioned emotions. It is emotional. It's always emotional. Your desire to buy something or you're selling something that you have all these memories in, you want every penny out of that, or you want to get as close to zero on the new home as possible because you want to make sure you're making like that right decision. You don't want to buy something wrong and then you're looking back like, oh my gosh, we overpaid and dot dot dot. So
Right. Right.
yeah.
Well, I think something that's probably different than the average transaction was our motivation to sell our first home with you, which was that we really wanted to start our own business. My wife and I did. We wanted to be sole um, independent business owners without any outside influence or investors. And the only way we could do that was by selling our home. And we made a commitment to you that once we sold our home, a couple of years down the line, we'd be buying another one with you. Of course, so long as everything went great with selling the house, which clearly it did. And so you talk about living the dream is kind of how we open this thing. When we sold our house, we have a dream board every year. So we sold the house. We're living in a quaint home, if you will. That's probably the nicest way to put it, in a rental house in the interim while we're trying to get our business started up. And then ideally, business goes great and we're in a position to buy another home. Well, during that time, we put a dream board together and we had the photo of the intersection that we wanted to be on and what we wanted the house to look like and what restaurant we wanted to be next to, which is also important. So we ended up on that intersection with a house that looked just like the one that we had on the dream board. And when we closed, you got us a very generous gift card to the restaurant that we wanted to be next to, which is, by the way, walking distance from the house. How freaking cool is that? Like, just a goosebumps moment. It's amazing and still just such a happy memory.
I love that. I love that. Um, and that's why I started with living the dream because you both had a very clear focus
Hmm.
on what you were after.
Hmm.
And I had no doubt when you were starting the venture and the business and getting after it there was no doubt that anything could go wrong. It's impossible. You two are so laser focused. You're amazing with your business as well, and I really appreciate you doing this and just helping other people understand your journey and how we helped you.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? I think that for most real estate agents, they go into a meeting with a prospect or, a potential client with their goals in mind and what they want to get out of that relationship. And you took the opposite approach of getting a really good understanding of what myself and my wife wanted. And you completely aligned your strategy with ours. It was never about Asher's desired goal and accomplishing that. It was all about the Mielke family and how do I get you to where you want to be. And that is such a genuine and authentic approach that I would think is very rare to find. And so we were thrilled with that.
Thank you. Man, this feels really good.
Yeah.
I
Me
appreciate
too.
it.
I'm happy to be reliving the memory because it really
Yeah,
was
like
such a rich time in life.
and the cool part about it is, David on our team, he likes to talk about it as it's not just like open and close. Like those transactions are open and close, but like you said at the beginning too, like the relationship is still there. If there's anything I could do for your business, I help out in any way,
Yep.
advice, guidance, whatever it might be, resource.
Mm-hmm.
But the journey, we're still on the journey. Like,
Yep.
it's not an open close like client on, client off. Like you guys are friends, your clients. Like I'm always here to help. And if it's like you want advice on remodeling or it's the next level, like what's the next level with your real estate goals? And we're always, working on that together versus just a on off. And
Yep.
then maybe we'll talk again, but it's just like continuing the conversation versus closing it.
That's right.